is a week that goes by without a new piece of Marvel content. Whether that be like a trailer drop, like we're going to talk about now with Moon Knight, a poster, an announcement. It's just the MCU is just this train that just keeps chugging along and you can't stop it.
The hype train.
The hype train, exactly.
It's the hype train.
And thank God, it gives us stuff to talk about.
It does. It sure does. They're the gift that keeps on giving, is what I'm essentially trying to say.
Yeah.
So let's just jump right into it and discuss the first full-length trailer for Moon Knight, starring Oscar Isaac and Ethan Hawke. Ethan
Hawke. They
long-haired Ethan Hawke.
They reeled in a Marlin with that one. I am ecstatic about the fact that Ethan Hawke is going to be in this. That is one of my like top underrated actors of all time. Like, people love Ethan Hawke, but I don't fully think that people understand how good he is. And the fact that he clearly is playing some pivotal role. I don't even know. Let me just say this right now. I don't know this character, and I can tell you right now, I'm super excited by it just because it looks so different and it looks so like they're finally kind of going, okay, we're going to start dishing out some of these darker storylines and we're going to start showing people what we got.
You kind of beat me to it. I was gonna throw it out there at first and say how familiar are we as a group with the character of Moon Knight? I know that until this show was announced, I had never even heard of Moon Knight.
Yeah, no.
I had heard, but I had not anything beyond like a mention or like, the character appeared in like a particular comic that I happened to pick up when I was a kid or what have you, or it was on like some sort of Marvel trading card that I had. That was about it. That's the long and the short of it.
You're miles ahead of me then, Brad. Like, this is like I know nothing. I know zero about this character, but that's kind of exciting. I think like
exactly
many episodes back, we asked the question of ourselves and of our listeners of, is Marvel fatigue becoming a thing? Is it real? And I think introducing characters out of the I was going to say bottom of the barrel, but that sounds like it's a bad thing. Just out of the norm.
You have such a deep well of characters.
Yes, exactly. It's not the A-list, let's say.
No.
It's not the A-list.
But I wouldn't even, it's not even Z-list. It's just like different. It's just different.
Especially a character like this that looks cool as fuck. I'm saying it. It looks cool as hell.
Yeah, like I'm super into it.
Yeah, it's definitely so how many minutes are we into this podcast? But let me just drop the first mention. It looks like Batman. Like it's got very like
it's dark,
vigilante, dark. Like the storylines are obviously completely different. We can get into a little bit about that, but like it's just got that. Like there's the scene near the end of the trailer where he's fighting someone and he's wailing on him, and I'm like, there's
not someone. If you look closely in that shot, he's fighting something.
Oh, excuse me.
Yes.
I when I make that comparison, it's tonal that I'm seeing the Batman vibes, but obviously, Rob, I know you did a bit of a deep dive to help us get a little more acclimated to this character. So could you possibly maybe regale me with some of the details here? I am lost.
Before I do that, I wanted to just talk about, these Marvel series sort of in general, like just sort of like high level, because this trailer felt really cinematic to me. Like if I didn't know that this was a series, I would have thought it was the next sort of Marvel movie. The shows, for the most part, like what do you guys think? I think none of them have really blown me away. Like I've had certain shows that I've liked better than others. Like I've said to you guys, I really enjoyed Loki. I thought Loki was far and away the best show.
The most interesting of the bunch, for sure.
I wasn't a huge fan of WandaVision. I thought WandaVision sort of wasted our time through the bulk of the season to actually get to the final point. Falcon and Winter Soldier was fun. It didn't blow me away, but it ultimately served its purpose of establishing Sam as the new Captain America.
Mm-hmm.
Loki was my favorite simply because I thought the casting was fantastic. And the fact that it did have, out of any of the shows, it did have the most like sort of ramifications,
stakes,
impact on the greater MCU.
Yeah,
like
Hawkeye really didn't.
Yeah, meeting Kang at the end. And I haven't said this publicly to you guys. I thought Hawkeye was a complete and utter waste of time. We did not need that show. We didn't need it. It did nothing. Like, sure. Okay, we got to meet so I can't even remember her name. What's her name?
Kate Bishop.
We got to meet Kate Bishop, and she's fun, and they did our guy Willie Fisk dirty at the end.
Yeah.
Like the characterization of him in the arc in the final episode just felt like they threw him in for the sake of having him, and really like
the contracts, man. I'm telling you, it was
that
the same
character. That character had built up such equity in the fan base, and it's like in pro wrestling where they build a wrestler up and they spend months building him up and he's going to get the title shot, and then they just inexplicably have him lose a match and it does damage to his credibility. And like, that's kind of what they did with Kingpin. It's like his stock is
what a comparison.
It's true though. His stock is down after appearing in that episode to me. And overall, I just thought that show was it was completely unnecessary. Like it did nothing. It was just, it was a waste of my time.
I will say this in defense of the show. I think this was the best we've seen Jeremy Renner as Hawkeye. I think other than, you could make an argument for, Endgame and all that, like the final two movies of the original Avengers arc and him coming back as or reappearing as Ronin and that whole thing was quite interesting. And, just that whole scenario. But to see now the kind of aftermath, the borderline, PTSD kind of, storyline they were taking with his character and losing his hearing and being obviously really wrecked by what happened. And in particular, the scene that we got with Jeremy Renner at the bridge when he sees the plaque and he takes the hearing aids out and he has that kind of one-on-one. It was incredibly poignant. And I thought it actually did a lot for the character because quite honestly, I think most people would say like, I don't really think Hawkeye's in anybody's like top 2 or 3 as far as like, oh no, something happened. You know what I mean? So I think that this did a lot for that character. And I think it probably will elevate it in the future movies now that we've gotten more attached to him because of this. But beyond that, I agree, Rob. I fully agree. I think the Kingpin role was just like, why did you make it so silly? And I think it boils back down to they didn't know he was going to be in it or not, because I think it was a contract issue and they kind of went, how can we get him in here quick? Because it seemed underwritten to me.
Yeah, I mean, to go back to your original sort of question about all of the shows and sort of how they've shaken out, I think the like common theme, maybe with the exception of Loki, which honestly, like I also still hold in the like it was okay category for me. But I think the problem that they've all had realistically is they haven't been able to like deliver on the promise of what they kind of set up in the first 1 or 2 episodes, and like the ending kind of just flops. Like WandaVision, the beginning of that is so interesting, and you're like, oh my god, like what is happening? And then when
it's almost like a Stranger Things kind of vibe.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and then once it unravels, you're like, oh. And then you move into Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and you have these really interesting themes in there about, race relations. And also you have even like the economic question around like what happens after the blip and like people's lives.
Right.
And all of that, while I appreciate what it did for the character, like really the summation of that story was, and now we have a Black Captain America, which is great, but like we didn't dive in further into like the rest of the the world that they built. So I hope they build on that, but I think it just felt like it stopped short. Loki was a little meandering, at least the ending had impact. And then Hawkeye, it's like, I loved the character, the characterization of Kate Bishop. I loved the interplay between them, but the ending was flat. So I mean, bringing it back to the conversation about Moon Knight, I agree, this really has a different looking tone. It does, the trailer looks like a movie to me, and I hope that this isn't going to fall flat, because it looks like this is the first of these series that's like an origin story.
Yes.
So there's more to come, whereas the rest of them are these little moments in time.
Also, the character of Moon Knight, we've talked a lot in previous weeks on how are they going to integrate some of these darker characters into the MCU. The character of Moon Knight is one of those darker, more violent characters.
That's what I'm saying.
He's a mercenary.
People put him, he's I did like kind of a Marvel deep dive, as Kelly alluded to earlier, and like,
you did your homework.
First of all, he's a member of the Midnight Suns, which is the most badass name I've ever heard, which is like all the badass Marvel characters, like him, Blade, Punisher, like just awesome. So it'll be interesting to see like how far are they going to push it? Like, even like with him like wailing on that creature at the end, like that's pretty violent. Like he's like repeatedly punching it in the face. I didn't realize with Moon Knight, and anyone who like knows Moon Knight who is watching this is going to hear me say this and go, duh. But like, I didn't realize that like how ingrained in like Egyptian lore the character of Moon Knight is. They did kind of hint at it in Eternals, which was cool. And I like the fact that what you just said too, like even in the trailer, let's break it back down to the trailer part of it too, because even just certain scenes where he's kind of having this like insomnia, inception-y kind of like visions of like what's happening, and he doesn't know what's real, what's not. And there's that scene where it looks like, what we now know as Moon Knight being like down this like dark, creepy hallway, and he like shoves the lights flickering, and he shoves his hand in the elevator door. Like I just instantly started getting like those kind of vibes of like Blade, of Daredevil, which we got from the Netflix series. And it's just kind of like, yes, oh my God. I hope that they can just I know that they can't go like full-fledged violence and like blood and guts and all that fun stuff, but like by the same token, you don't want them to dull it down too much. I'm very excited by what I saw in the trailer. The trailer alludes to the origin of Moon Knight, which is he is a ex sort of special ops person by the name of Mark Spector, who the comparisons in some of the videos I saw today, Brad, were to Ed Norton's character in Fight Club, where like he's created he's created this sort of new, because he's referred to as Steven in the trailer, Stephen Grant, who is another one of his aliases. So basically, Stephen Grant doesn't remember Mark Spector.
Right.
And when he goes to sleep, he kind of like reverts back to Mark Spector, or when something happens and he's put in danger, Mark Spector sort of takes over. And when these two personalities come together with the help of Khonshu, the moon god, he becomes Moon Knight.
Interesting.
Wow.
So
it looks as though, it looks as though, like if I'm kind of drawing the line of the first episode, like we've got this Stephen character who probably works at a museum in London. I'm not sure how first of all,
this is like you're from London.
It's a geographical switch from what we're used to in the MCU. Also, I do just want to put a pin in how we feel about the accent. We'll come back to that. But it looks like he works at this museum. He's having trouble sleeping at night. He's seeing visions. And then, maybe he comes into contact with some sort of artifact that sort of will set this all into motion and start to
but
Open
it
the
alludes
floodgates.
if you watch when you go through the trailer, there are a lot of mirrors and reflections, and
That don't match
the
up to what he's
that
actually
don't
doing.
match up to
Yeah.
those are his other. That's Mark Spector looking back at Stephen Grant.
Right.
Yes.
So this is like it's all in him sort of. I'm guessing it'll probably take an episode or two for him to sort of figure out what's going on and actually become the Moon Knight, which is like that costume is sick. I love it.
Yeah.
And the way it comes on, like
Yes.
just like that looks really cool.
And it
as
has
well.
it's like
Really
the
cool.
mummy, because he originally Mark Spector was murdered, and then the moon god, I don't know if it's pronounced Khonshu or Khonshu, resurrects him,
Okay.
which is like an illusion, which is why there's like a mummy look to the
Love it.
I'm
outfit.
fascinated.
That's one of
I'm
my
fascinated
that's
by
my
this
favorite
character.
part of a museum. I love
Yes,
going
the
to that section of the museum. So I'm
I want
in.
to see the mummies.
Apparently, Kelly, that museum that he works at in London is known for having like the greatest collection of Egyptian artifacts. Like that's a real
Interesting.
thing.
Amazing. I'm in.
Yes,
I'm in.
God, I tell you, man, these nerds on Reddit, man, I don't know how I would do this pod without you guys. Like seriously, I don't know how.
Sometimes,
I would do it
but listen, that's what I like about it. I like the fact that it's like, you know, we've talked about this at length on this podcast before, where we'll say like, you know, there are certain things and there are certain topics or certain, you know, series of movies and shows or whatever that we're quite well versed on. And then there are some, like Moon Knight, for instance, that we're not necessarily like up on all the little details and everything else. And it's exciting. And this is why people get invested in this, because it's like you've set up this. If this was just like, you know, maybe this was like 20 years ago, if you just tried to release some sort of Moon Knight show or movie, people might have got on board, like if you kind of struck lightning, but the, you know, odds are they might have gone like, what is this? I don't know what this is, like blah, blah, blah. But because you have set this whole hype train, like we just talked about, in motion with Marvel, they have opened up the doors to all of these characters that you might not be well versed in and whatever. And it's exciting for people like us who are movie going people and who are nerds and whatever, and we like this kind of stuff. And yet we still don't know this character that well. And so it's exciting to kind of have something on the horizon coming out that's like, we got something cool to watch. And I don't know what to expect really.
Do you know what's interesting too is as I watch it, I'm not as like I'm trying to think of the best term. I'll use this. I'm not as marvelized as I normally would be.
Yeah.
Like I'm not as marveled.
Yes.
Meaning like I'm watching it as if it's just a fresh piece of content storytelling. And I wasn't watching it going, oh, I wonder who's gonna cameo. And I wonder, like it actually felt very fresh to me. Whereas, and again, I think that plays into the point I made earlier where it's like, oh, this is actually, we're doing a television series, but it's an origin story. And so we get to go into it.
Oscar Isaac and Ethan Hawke.
Exactly.
Oh.
You've bought us in with good actors. It looks like it's, you know, to the conversation we had last week, like so many people are going to watch this because it's at home and accessible for them. It's something new. It doesn't feel as like coated in the fabric of Marvel. I'm sure there will be plenty of Easter eggs for us to discuss as we watch it. But it just feels fresh.
Did you know the shot where he's driving the truck and he's holding the gun?
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the box behind him, it says Von Doom on it, as in Victor Von Doom.
I did not see that. Excellent. Fuck yes. Oh my God. This is where
I literally was just being like, oh, I don't care about the Marvel. I don't care what it has to say. Never mind. It's fine.
We'll cut it out. We're just gonna cut it out. But no, listen, that alone. Okay, wow, good eagle eye.
All right, they got me. They got me on that too.
I didn't see that. I did not see that, and I know that has been a conversation that everybody's been talking about a lot lately. Is there have been some rumors swirling about certain people maybe being seen on set of Doctor Strange that maybe were rumored to be certain characters. John Krasinski.
Yeah.
And I
know.
I'm here for it. I'm here for it. And there have been Doctor Doom rumblings, which is easily one of the best Marvel villains in the entire Marvel universe, bar none, bar none. And so I'm like, the fact that you just told me that, like, I'm buzzing. I'm buzzing.
You're literally watching Brad's authentic reaction.
This is me. This is
it.
This is my own little reaction video for
anything else
cares.
You guys want to point out from the trailer. Kelly, you wanted to discuss.
I just wanted to ask,
accent.
I actually don't think it sounds bad. I found it so distracting. Like, I was like, whoa. Like, so I just hope that as I'm watching it, I'm not like.
What part? It doesn't sound like your traditional like London accent.
I was going to say that. I'm wondering, because you even brought it up, you mentioned the fact that there's supposed to be some like Egyptian ties. I'm almost wondering if he's supposed to be like,
oh yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Like maybe he's an immigrant to England and has picked up like the English, certain phraseology and certain like little, words are coming out British, but there's more of like a mixed accent going on there. Because I noticed it as well.
Call me Mark.
But
Yeah,
then there's
like
times where it sounds like a little bit like, sweet the chimney for you, governor. Like, it's a little bit like that.
And it's just, you know what? Like, we've seen Oscar Isaac in Dune. We've seen him in Star Wars. Like these big, we've seen him in X-Men. Like these big franchises.
You know what he wants? I think if Oscar was here, he would say, don't. Let's not
bring that up.
Sorry, never mind. X-Men never happened. Sorry, but that was really like I had to. I watched the trailer and then I had to watch it again because my first viewing was just like, that's him talking. So anyway, that was just sidebar on the.
We've seen Oscar Isaac. We've seen Oscar Isaac look into the camera with a straight face and say, "Somehow Palpatine survived."
Oh no! Hey man, he earned his paycheck for keeping a straight face for that one.
They fly now. They fly.
Yeah, they fly now. I will say one last thing because I'm a bit of a nerd for just actors in general, and the idea of Ethan Hawke and Oscar Isaac going toe to toe in a franchise that has weight to it that a lot of people are gonna see.
Yeah,
I cannot.
There's a great
wait.
video on YouTube of the two of them sitting together watching the trailer.
Doing a trailer.
Is that right? Oh, I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah,
it's good.
I'm gonna watch that.
So I think
great.
This is the most excited I've been for a Marvel show yet. I think, Kelly, you hit on it in that it's something new. It's something fresh. It's an origin story. It's very exciting. Now, from one costume reveal to another, we go from the epic Moon Knight costume to getting our first look at Leslie Grace as Batgirl in the upcoming HBO Max show. Please, I watched last week's episode back. I called it a movie like 50 times. It's not a movie. No, it is a movie. Sorry.
I was about to say, you've got this switch.
I've got it.
We were calling it a show. It's a movie.
It's a movie.
It's a movie.
Yeah, see,
it's a movie.
The whole HBO Max thing is just,
I know.
My brain
is a movie.
It's so funny because like Disney Plus, I get it. Disney Plus, it's a show.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah, so you're right, Kelly. I called it a show like 50 times last week. It's a movie going on HBO Max.
Correct.
Yes.
Punch me. Virtual punch if you hear me refer to it as a show. Because I watched last week back and I was like, it's a movie, you idiot.
Your own worst critic.
This costume looks like a modern day version of the 60s TV show Batman costume.
Batgirl costume.
Batgirl, yes.
Should we just let this sit quietly while we're all just like,
Listen. Here's what I'm gonna say. I don't want to be negative. All right. Like Keaton's in it. Like,
yeah,
it's cool. Okay. It's very clear to me as I listen to other podcasts out there that there is a segment of the fan base who really does look at the upcoming Matt Reeves, Robert Pattinson Batman movie as just an extension of what Chris Nolan did.
Mm-hmm.
I don't agree with that.
I don't either.
But
no.
I can sort of see I can draw a line between the two in that it's a very grounded, like real world sort of take.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a segment of the fan base that wants a full on like fantastical Batman world. Like they just do. Like they want that 60s TV show in movie form. And here's all I'll say. Listen, we may not want that, but if we're going to put a positive spin on it here, okay? If they do this right, and with Warner Brothers, that's a big if, but if they do this right, you have the opportunity to serve two masters and two audiences here. Like over here, you've got your sort of grounded, real world, gritty, dark Batman take. And over here, you've got your more like comic book, bright colors, fun Batman take. And I think that they can, if they do, no, you guys are
I have two words for you. I have two words for you.
Do you see what I'm saying?
I absolutely hear what you're saying. Go ahead, Brad.
Hold on. I have two words for both of you right now. And those two words are Joel Schumacher.
Yeah.
No. Anybody that's going like, oh, let's get the 60s vibe back. We tried that and it didn't work. It was not good. Nobody involved thinks it's good. I'm pretty sure Clooney the other day was on Stern and did a whole interview about how it was a disaster. They all knew it was a disaster. Schumacher knew it was a disaster. So I don't know that they're going to go full, like, clearly. They're not going to go like full, like 60s vibe like they tried in those movies.
I mean, look at it. They are.
Look at it. The best comment I saw, and I have to shout out, I wish I knew the user's name on Instagram who wrote this comment when the picture dropped of the new Batgirl costume. But they literally wrote, it looks like Batgirl just stepped out of Forever 21. I just about shit my pants laughing because to me it was like the most like perfect, like she's wearing like a purple leather like little, you know, biker coat and everything, and I was like, yes, it's comic book accurate to a degree, but it's also like, come on, like it just looks silly. I think it's coming off as a little like, what is that protecting you from? And I know it sounds like
Kelly, go ahead.
Yeah, so I have a couple of thoughts on this. So one is yes, from a fashion perspective, it's not good. Also from a like disguising your identity perspective, not good.
Who are you?
Like you can see your face pretty clear. Those eye holes are pretty large.
Those are big.
The other thing that this has me actually, I'm gonna save that because you guys are gonna jump in on my next point. So I'll bring my other point forward.
Okay.
My one point is
you know us.
I don't love that, like, if you're right, Rob, and they are taking this like kind of dual audience thing, like, why does it have to be, and this is where I take a unique stance in this podcast, why does it have to be the female character that we're turning into the silly, like,
yes, I agree.
Totally
like,
good.
Don't
I'm with
love
you.
that. Like, let's give, I'm not suggesting that this movie has to be as dark as whatever Matt Reeves is going for, but can we give little girls a hero that actually feels like they're like someone real and that they can look up to, right? Like
a dominant presence of like, you're a superhero, they like kicks ass. Yes, I said the same thing. I said the same thing.
So then the other point I was going to make that I've saved till now is I don't want to blow things out of proportion because it is just a costume. But doesn't this also concern you guys about the tone of the Flash movie? Because this is being born out of that, meaning that Michael Keaton, who was in a very, you know, of its time, but in a dark set of Batman movies, what is he going to be sitting at the Bat computer and going, gee golly, Batgirl, the signal's in the sky? Like, I'm concerned about everything that they're building as part of the critics. Like, it's like, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing?
It's the yellow cape for me. Like,
it's not even that. It's just like,
how are you hiding in the shadows?
Yeah, it's awful. Like,
I see you. We see you.
It's very bad. I've seen some speculation online that like this will not be the costume that she ends up wearing towards the end. And here's my pie in the sky. I hope this happens.
All right.
Let's say the movie starts she is taken up the mantle of Batgirl all on her own and has made this costume. And then she comes across Brucey, who's like, this is ridiculous. And they make her a new costume that doesn't look.
That's good. So let's have the female character make this
Be an
bullshit costume, and
then
have Michael Keaton come in and be like, "You're a dumbass. Put this on."
Slowly sink out of frame.
Well, I'm trying.
Sink out of frame.
But I'm trying to come up with a way to get her out of the.
No,
costume.
I get where you're coming from, but Kelly's absolutely right. Like that would be like the cinematic version of mansplaining. Like, oh, honey, you can't wear yellow. They're gonna see you. But it's true. That's accurate.
It's unfathomably terrible to me. Like I cannot get my head around how silly. Silly. That is how I describe that costume.
Yeah, it's not
silly.
It's not
silly.
great. It's
Listen,
not great.
I will. Eternal optimist here, checking in. We'll give it to the fact that Michael Keaton can do pretty much whatever he wants right now. Straight up. The guy won an Oscar. Guy's been nominated a few times in the last couple of years. He was just in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It still is, which is interesting in and of itself that he's going to be doing double duty there. But I really find it hard to believe that he would attach himself to something at this point when his stock couldn't be higher. That this would be something bad. I don't know where they're going with it as far as like, again, let's just call a spade a spade. All of this is just speculation on our part and everybody's part based on like, we're basing the entirety of like the quality of the show off of one picture. And we're like, what are they doing?
Well, it's because it's so bright.
But I agree. Well, I'm with you. But I'm just saying, let's we'll temper it a little bit and just say, you didn't build our confidence any by doing this, but I'm not at the point yet where I'm like, burn the film or like whatever. Well,
I think it's
give it a chance.
I also just think it's like, let's just be, this is the first
just really exasperated. Just exasperated.
So like, we've seen Batgirl in TV shows and in The Abomination, that was Batman and Robin. But this is the first like real solo outing that has like real actors in it and isn't on the CW. I would just hope that they would take it a little more seriously. Like, I'm looking at you, Rob, and that ridiculous Aquaman costume that is hanging up behind you.
Yeah.
And like, I know they did a version of that in the movie, but it was like
a badass cool version.
Yeah, like I'm just like, it just feels like
homage.
Almost like pandering too, of like, oh, it's Batgirl. Like, it's just so lame.
But this is exactly the crux of the problem. And this is why nobody's really wanted to get their hands on Robin either, because both of those characters were kind of brought in to like lighten up Batman for people and make it more like,
hey, Chris O'Donnell looked pretty good in those muted colors, let me tell you.
Wow, those nippies and codpiece were really something. The thing for me though is that those characters have the cards stacked against them because of the backstory and their lineage and everything else and how they came to be. So then you've had these iterations of these characters like Nightwing, where they've tried to make, or like Death in the Family. Like, they've had these arcs within Batman to make those characters like more cool and grounded and not like some single adult man adopting a young boy and being like creepy. And same with Batgirl. And so
you're 31, move in.
I got your bed right here. I also have a butler that'll take care of you. So listen, this is what you've been trying to avoid.
The dogs are hungry.
The dogs. So listen,
is the young master leaving?
So you're trying to avoid these tropes by not like, again, the cards are stacked against them. And then the first, like to your point, Kelly, the first thing you show us is her in like a little skimpy purple.
It
mask.
looks like,
It's
she's
what
going
is
out
this
for.
doing?
Looks like she's going out to do a triple sow cow at the Olympics. Like she looks like it's
No, it doesn't
yeah,
compute. It
she's,
doesn't compute.
you know,
It kind of
free
goes
skate
against the
doubles.
grain.
Yeah,
Oh.
it's not great. It's not great. Obviously,
How is J.K. Simmons, her father, gonna look at her and go, "Who are you?"
Yeah. Where's my daughter? Yeah, no, I don't know. Yeah.
the top detective in the Gotham Police Department can't put this together.
Yeah.
He can't see through that purple lycra. He can't see through.
He's just gonna look at her and go like, "Who are you?"
Maybe this is where the show see, now I'm doing it. Maybe this is where the movie really takes a more real world stance on something, and then he can't figure it out, and the rest of the police department are like, "It's your daughter, man." And then he gets let go, and it's a whole new story arc for Gordon. Who knows? It's the only thing I can think of.
Only time will tell. Like I said, like I'm gonna try and
J.K. Simmons is in it.
I'm gonna try and be optimistic. Oscar winners. Yeah, I'm gonna try and be optimistic along with you, Brad. We'll see how it plays out. Like I said, I do think if they play their cards right, I do think there are two different sort of Batman audiences here that you can serve, and you can have if you're gonna have two different cinematic Batmen, you might as well kind of take them in different directions. And here's one thing I will say. I didn't love the Pattinson suit when I first got a look at it. Like the first time I ever saw it, I was like, I don't know how I feel about this cowl. And seeing it in context in trailers and such, I love it. And the cowl design is on purpose because it allows him to show more emotion. Having his like full like bottom half of his face exposed gives him, as opposed to Bale, who had like this like mouth hole in his mask. So I understand, and now I love it. I absolutely love it. So who knows?
Give it some time. You never know.
Maybe we'll see this thing, and maybe she'll sneak up on some villains in her purple suit and yellow cape, and they won't even see her, and she'll take them all out.
Or maybe this is another opportunity for a studio to have a Sonic the Hedgehog moment and go, "Oh, we're gonna need a couple more months here, kids. Just kidding."
Whoops.
And then give us whatever we're supposed to get. We'll see. We'll see. I choose to take the optimistic point, and let's just stick with that.
That's new for you, Brad. That's new for you.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, that's not. I'm not used to you doing that.
One day I'm gonna come on here and just be the worst. Like I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna save it for something I really hate and just be so negative on here.
We'll just do a Man of Steel like watch party.
Yeah, that's all we need to do to get.
Yeah,
I don't
Brad's
need to
ugly side out.
I don't need to rewatch it. I have it burned in my memory forever, as much as how much I hated it in the theater.
Oh my god.
Anyway.
So I think that's gonna do it for us this week. Also, did you know that the two gentlemen who are directing the Batgirl movie are also directing the 2 episodes of the upcoming Miss Marvel TV
interesting.
show
No,
for Disney Plus. Yes.
I didn't know that.
Double dipping.
I was just gonna say there's another double dip right there.
Yep. I mean, but that might kind of give you an idea of like
tonally where we're headed.
Yeah, totally. Because like I don't know I don't know a lot about Miss Marvel and Kamala Khan other than what I've played in the Avengers video game, because she's like one of the featured characters in it, and she is like a teenage girl. So I mean, all right, I think that's gonna do it for us this week. Anything else you guys want to hit on before we get out of here?
Just that we're starting to push into more interesting Oscar run, and I'm definitely getting more and more intrigued by who's kind of up for things and who's the potential winners, where there might be some upsets. So I'm definitely keeping an eye on that right now. I'm hoping we're gonna bang out an episode here where we do like a full Oscar run and we see what we haven't seen, have a roundtable about certain performances and things. But yeah, that's what I'm keeping my eyes on right now, kids.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm just gonna give you guys a warning. We're encroaching the season finale of And Just Like That, the new chapter of Sex in the City, which is one of my favorite shows. That show is a disaster. And I'm going to need to come on this podcast to talk about it in the near future. So just fair warning to our listeners and to you guys. Once the season wraps, I need to get some stuff off my chest. That's all I got to say about that.
Brace for impact is what you're saying.
I don't see a better way to end this episode other than that teaser. So thank you very much, everybody, for checking us out this week. If you like what you see, hit that like and subscribe button below. Spread the word, tell your friends. Also hit us up on our Instagram at Talk and Pop. That link is below as well. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye, guys.